Welcome to Land of the Bible. I'm your host, David Sussman. Today, we explore the story of our forefathers, a story of beginnings, of journeys, and of promises that shaped a people and a land. The forefathers are not just names from the pages of Scripture. They represent the origins of a covenant between heaven and earth, the foundations of a people whose story would be written across valleys, mountains, and rivers. From the fertile plains to the arid deserts, from tents to thriving settlements, their journey was one of movement, struggle, and hope. It is the story of leaving home in search of a promise, of building lives in a new land, and of passing faith from one generation to the next. This was a people defined by covenant and continuity. Through trials, famine, and conflict, they forged a bond with the land, a bond that would survive centuries of change, exile, and return. Their story is written in every stone and river, in every valley and well. It is a story of perseverance, of faith tested and renewed, and of the shaping of a nation before a nation even existed. The forefathers' journey was more than physical, it was spiritual. It created a framework of values, a sense of destiny, and a connection to the land that continues to inspire people around the world. In this episode, we will discover the paths that they walked, uncover the places they lived, and explore the enduring story of a people shaped by faith, family, and the land itself. This is the story of the forefathers, the foundations of the land of the Bible.
G'day, I'm Paul. Thanks for joining me again. Today, I'm standing on the hills of Judea, the very mountains themselves in an area called Gush Etzion. These are the hills located between Jerusalem and Hebron, the very hills themselves where our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sojourned and dwelled. These very hills, you feel that they were here. The vineyards, the rolling mountains, the biblical connection. It is these hills that the covenant of Abraham and God was established. And walking around here today, you can see that that covenant is living and thriving. It is here that God's eternal covenant with the Jewish people first took root in this very soil. As we read in the book of Genesis, God speaks to Abraham and says, "From where you are, lift up your eyes and look around, and everything that you see I shall give to you and your offspring forever." And as Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the rolling hills and fertile valleys as far as his eyes could see, he understood that this was a concrete deed to the physical land. Just take a look around you. These olive groves, the vineyards, these aren't just scenery. This is the continuation of the promise. the promise of the land to the Jewish people. What we see around us today is that continuation of that covenant between God and the Jewish people. And today, after 2,000 years of exile, we're back doing exactly as our forefathers did thousands of years ago. I spoke to a local winemaker here in Gush Etzion, and I was asking him about his life and his experiences and what it's like to live here and to work here. And he told me something really beautiful I want to share with you guys. He said to me, when I go and plant my vineyards and when I grow the grapes and I make my wine, I'm not just going through the process. I'm actually planting and cultivating my roots in my land. And this is something that my ancestors could only pray for thousands of years. For me, this is the living testament and this is the living covenant of the Jewish people. For those of you watching, this is a powerful truth. You see, the Bible isn't just a history book. The promise made to Abraham in that covenant is being lived out today in real time in these very hills.
Imagine walking where Jesus walked, where faith comes to life. Feel the Bible story unfold around you, from the green Galilee to Jerusalem's ancient streets. Experience the serene and welcoming land of the Bible, where miracles happen. Put your heart where His footsteps are. Visit Israel.
What we're walking around now is a new, fresh archaeological dig in an ancient town of Hebron. Now you can see it's fresh. They haven't got very far down yet. So there's really not much to say anything special about what they found, but let's think about what they could find. Ancient walls, perhaps the ancient city of Kiryat Arbor or around the fields of Mamre. Everything that's related to the story of Abraham and Hebron and the cave being purchased, and everything that we're going to talk about. As a tour guide and an avid archaeologist, to find new archaeological evidence of my forefathers' actual presence here, that's huge. And in this particular section, we can actually see ancient walls and paths and construction which probably goes back to the Bronze Age over 4,000 years ago. I get really excited about this stuff because for me, it's a continued strengthening of my ties to the land, the story and the Bible, and it just makes me so excited and so full of faith to know that all these years later, I'm standing on the same ground that my forefathers stood, worked, lived, and brought forth the nation of Israel. Most people will probably look at this and say, oh, it's just a shard of pottery, right? Because let's face it, even back then, pottery was a dime a dozen. It wasn't really anything special as far as antiquities is concerned, but it gets my imagination flowing, and this is what I mean. What was this? Was it a pot? Was it a jug? Was it used for some sort of religious service? Or perhaps it was the Friday night Shabbat meal with the family where the wine was stored. Who knows? But just to find these things lying around here scattered, you've got to try and imagine how much more there is, and every single piece that's excavated and eventually put together by the archaeologist reveals more and more of the story of our past in the land. If the hills of Gush Etzion are where God spoke to Abraham and gave him the covenant and the promise, then here in Hebron, where we're standing right now, is where that was anchored in for all time. This structure that you see behind me was built by King Herod over 2,000 years ago, directly over the tomb itself and the cave of Machpelah. You see, it's more than just a tomb. What you see here is the title deed and the burial site of the mothers and the fathers of the nation of Israel. In the book of Genesis, in the book of Bereshit, we read a very detailed account of Abraham buying this land. Now, it's kind of weird. Why would the Torah go into so much detail about the purchase of the land? It was already given to him as a gift from Ephron the Hittite and the sons of Het. We read all about this, but Abraham very eagerly and very purposely bought the land for 400 pieces of silver. Now, why would it go into all those details? Because this was our irrevocable claim to the legal title of the land. He didn't fight for it. He didn't conquer it. He didn't kill anybody for it. He bought it legally, forever establishing the very first Jewish-owned property in the Holy Land. Even during the darkest times of history in exile and diaspora, Jews risked their lives to come and pray here. You see, after 1967, when Jews could finally return to this very spot, it wasn't an invasion, it was a homecoming. I want to share a really beautiful story with you guys. It's very powerful too. You see, after 1967, when Hebron was liberated and Jews could finally return, the very first Torah scroll had been brought back into the Machpelah cave by the rabbis, and not just that, by children of generations that used to live here. And when they finally brought it in, they didn't say, we're conquering or we're invading. They said, Hinenu iganu abaita. We are here, we have come home. Every matriarch and patriarch, except Rachel, is buried here in Hebron. This is the eternal bond, the most important and fundamental bond of all Jews around the world, and that is the bond of family. And this place here in Hebron, at the Machpelah cave, is the eternal grave of the nation of Israel. As we're here in Hebron and we walk around the city, we can see and learn that God's promises, they're trustworthy. You see, the covenant, it's not flexible. It isn't something that you can play with. It is permanent. And what we actually have here is proof that our belief and faith in God is eternal. And being here today, we are encouraged and inspired to understand and continue our faith and belief that those promises, that covenant, it's an eternal promise. From the hills of Gush Etzion in Hebron to the Mount of Olives, and without a doubt the most famous view overlooking Jerusalem, the holy city. For 2,000 and more years, Jews everywhere have been looking towards this city. But it's more than just a representation and a nice picture and a good selfie. This is a sign of Jews returning to their Holy Land, to our capital city of Jerusalem. For millennia we've prayed to be here. And now, the prophecies of Jeremiah and Ezekiel are being fulfilled in this very day, where we are back in the capital of the holy city of Zion, of Jerusalem, here in Israel. The Mount of Olives Cemetery is clearly one of the most holiest and continually used cemeteries outside of Hebron in the world. The cemetery here has been continually used for thousands of years. Jews for millennia have spent a lot of money to buy a plot here because this was the site that we read about during the prophecies of Jeremiah and Ezekiel and the redemption of the Jews returning to Zion. Because it's from this very mountaintop that the first people will be resurrected. Many famous people have been buried here throughout the years. Some of the most modern people that you might know about are people like Menachem Begin, the 6th Prime Minister of Israel, the one that gave us the Egyptian peace plan with Sadat, and of course with Carter back in the 70s. You have Rabbi Kook, the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi in the modern period of Israel, who brought religion and Zionism together. And there are so many more, even going back down to the Kidron Valley and the bottom of the hill to Avshalom, the son of David, the king himself. Clearly this is an important site, and there is no doubt about it that walking around here, you feel the awe. But why? The hope. If there's any sign of hope, this is where it is, because it's from this spot the resurrection's going to happen. And there isn't a greater sign than putting your body here at the end of your days, waiting for the redemption at the end of days. From this mountaintop, the Mount of Olives, is where Abraham looked over to Mount Moriah. The same mountain you see behind me here, the one with the golden dome covering the very top of Mount Moriah itself. He traveled with Isaac, his son, on the 10th and final test that God had given him. Proving to God his commitment was everything for Abraham. The entire journey, Isaac is wondering what's going on. Abraham's saying, "Don't worry, son, we're going to go sacrifice to God." So Isaac's like, "Okay, but where's the animal? Like, where's the sacrifice? We have the wood, you have the knife, you have the ropes. Where's the sacrifice?" "Don't worry, son, God will provide." All of this because God said to Abraham, "Take your son, your only son, Isaac, and go to the mountain that I show you. And there, I will tell you what to do." Abraham had a bit of a clue what was happening, but they didn't really fully understand until they'd risen to the top of the mountain. And there, Isaac finally understood that he was going to be the sacrifice. The gravity of the situation for this young boy in his 30s, who understood the importance of what was happening, is something that's really difficult to understand today. But he did it. And he went up there and he said to his father, he's like, "Father, Abba, make sure that when you bind me, you do it tight in case I get scared and I move and you mess this up." That's huge. Think about the maturity. Think about the faith. Think about the hope, and think about the absolute belief in God and all that God had done. And this is where it all happened, folks. On that mountain behind me, the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Abraham's faith was unwavering. Think about everything that he'd gone through to get to this point. The 10th and final test. He knew that God had promised him the land. Everything that I show you, everything that you see, will be yours and your descendants. The idea is amazing. A heritage, a land for his people, for his descendants. And 3,800 years later, here we are, folks. His people, his descendants, on this mountaintop, looking over the holiest site to Judaism. Everywhere and anywhere in the world, every Jew is facing this place every single time we pray. And Abraham, with all faith, came up here willing to sacrifice his son so that people like you and me would be able to stand here today in our homeland. From on top of the Mount of Olives where we're standing, you can clearly see behind me the mountain ridge to the south of the city. It's from that very ridge that King David saw Jerusalem for the first time on his way to conquer it, to be the very first united capital of the nation of Israel. it is from this site that he moved to the Mount of Olives, where we stand now. And it was from the eastern side, over the Kidron Valley, that David successfully conquered the city of Jerusalem and established the capital of Israel for the united tribes of the Israelite kingdom. What's unique about that is that through all of history, the Romans, the Greeks, the Muslims, the Turks, the British, everybody that ever ruled this land over those millennia, it's not until 1967, June 67, when the paratroopers conquered Jerusalem from the east. Twice in all of those thousands of years has Jerusalem been conquered from the east. The time of King David and 1967 with the IDF.
I will bless those who bless you, God promised Abraham. Embrace this covenant by connecting with the people of Israel. From Jerusalem's stones to Galilee's shores, experience living faith through their traditions and hospitality. Your journey is more than visiting biblical sites. It's about hearts that welcome your friendship. Your presence matters. Discover Israel.
The covenant of Israel wasn't just restored, it was defended with immense courage. The modern story of Israel, with its trials and tribulations, its faith and prayers, is the ultimate in the final redemption of the Jews' return to the homeland. It's places like this that remind us of the patriarch story and the continuing journey of the Jewish people. Just as Abraham had to fight to free Lot from Sodom, and the Maccabees fought the Greeks for religious freedom, the modern defenders of Israel have fought for the existential survival of our nation. As we draw a line going 4 millennia from Abraham, the forefather of monotheism, we reach Theodor Herzl, the father of modern Zionism. Let's just take a moment to think about these parallels. Abraham left everything he knew in the comfort of his life for a promise. The modern pioneers, the Chalutzim of Israel, they did the same thing. They left their comfort in Europe and other nations in North Africa and around the world to come to a land to build their nation from the dust and the desert and the sand. And from there, they rose up to drain malarial swamps and begin fulfilling the promise of Jeremiah that you will replant vineyards in Samaria. Most of us are familiar with the story of Joseph, and how he died in Egypt as viceroy. Only later on, when the Jews under Moses, under Moshe Rabbeinu, bring his bones back, is he finally interred in the land itself. Theodor Herzl also died outside the country. In fact, he died in 1904, which means he never ever got to see Israel as a sovereign and independent state. For all of his efforts and all of his work, and for all of the millions of Jews that he inspired till today, it wasn't until post-independence that the Israeli government reinterred his body from Austria, where he was buried, right here in Jerusalem, the capital of Israel. We continue to learn from the past, not to live in it or dwell in it, but to gain strength and courage from those stories. It's the same faith that inspired and sustained Abraham as he roamed these hills, these very hills, And it drove our pioneers to come and build a land. And it's the same faith that encourages our soldiers as they go into battle. The story that began with the book of Bereshit, Genesis, in Lech Lecha, where we learn of God's commandment to Abraham to go forth, go to the land that I show you. It is continuing today in modern Israel, inspiring us with our faith, innovation, resilience, fortitude, and the continued building of our land. The covenant isn't just a memory, it is a living, breathing, thriving reality.
We're here in the land of the Bible, the land of the Maccabees, the land of the modern day warriors. We're here where the stories come to life, where everywhere you look at the landscape, you can feel the past, living here in the present and imagining what we'll see in the future.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to join us next time as we continue to connect you to the people, places, and land of the Bible.